Hello. Our next module that we're going to cover in this class is Class Matters. And one way to think about it is the NPR show where they say all children are average intelligence, all children are above average intelligence. If you ask a typical American what's your class, they'll sort of look at you sort of puzzled, and they'll all raise their hands and say they're middle class, because God forbid anyone be rich or poor. But you know, as good public health students, it's statistically impossible for everyone to be in the middle. So we're really going to be looking at how class differentials impact health. This, certainly for the past several centuries, is one of the major ways that health status is distributed over all populations. People with more resources do better than people with less resources. And so how is it that we can pay attention to this in American public health? In the United States, we don't use the word class. It's forbidden. We're a classless society. We talk about socioeconomic status, which is really not the same as class. And so one of the things we'll be looking at is what's the difference between SES status and class? And why is it that the rest of the world has no problem talking about the class? If you meet a Brit, they'll tell you, I'm working class, I'm middle class, and they have some notion of what that means. So we're going to be looking at the role of economics and class. We will touch very briefly on some things like occupational exposures and problems and how that impacts health. We may have some discussion about environmental justice issues, but we're going to be examining class and how that really produces health inequities. When you talk to people that aren't Americans, they will often tell you that race has nothing to do with it, that all of the differences we see are based on class. Most Americans, on the other hand, since they never think about class, tend to think about race as a major mechanism. Unfortunately, they tend to think about genetics as a major mechanism to produce these differences. So one of the big dilemmas in our field in the United States is, what's more important, class or race? I'm not sure that's a fair question, but we're going to be examining it. And one example, not the only example, to look at this question is to look at infant mortality, look at birth outcomes in African American women. So again, we'll be touching on some videos from Unnatural Causes and have some readings around this. And just in case you don't remember, the birth outcomes for well-educated women with lots of money and that have insurance if they're black are worse than the birth outcomes for white high school dropouts. So clearly, race and class are both operating in the United States, and I'll be very interested in your notions about where that balance needs to be between race and class.